Final Fantasy, known for some of the most badass protagonists and incredible parties that persevere through hardships and incredible odds. However, what if this was the opposite? What if these characters didn't have what it takes to get even through the first battle? So I wanted to see how fast I could get a game over in each Final Fantasy game. Here are some of the rules. There are actually not that many limitations to this challenge, just get to the game over screen as soon as possible. The timer starts as soon as I hit new game, and anything goes to get to the game over screen. I will only cover versions readily available on Steam or PlayStation 5. I will also acknowledge that these aren't optimal and can probably be improved. And so, we start with Final Fantasy 1. I chose 4 Black Mages as they have the lowest starting HP pool of any class. And after some exposition about the prophecy of the 4 Warriors of Light, we're off. These Black Mages are immediately out for blood as they head straight to the Chaos Shrine. However, I realized that Garland isn't actually available until you talk to the king, and so we face these Giga Swarms instead. With no spells and only staves in hand, the 4 Black Mages are no match for these worms, clocking in at 3 minutes and 47 seconds. Moving on to Final Fantasy 2 and... well, that was fast. Okay, so the first battle is a scripted death and doesn't actually count. After Firion and company awaken and are let go by Hilda, the trio are left fending for themselves out in the wild. This is an excellent time to bring up a fantastic mechanic that will help with this entire challenge. Hitting your team and yourself in the face. And so Firion and company get into an argument about the Empire and end up dying in the wilderness, clocking in at 4 minutes and 1 second. Moving on to Final Fantasy 3, we get some backstory about some kids playing in a cave, and eventually falling into a hole leading them deeper into the cave. And because they're kids and have no idea what they're doing, they never come home and ultimately perish in the cave, clocking in at 3 minutes and 5 seconds. On to Final Fantasy IV. We start out with Cecil and the Red Wings. There are a few battles that are scripted and cannot be controlled, unfortunately. After a while, we get back to Baron Castle, the king hates us for doubting him, Rosa is worried about us, and we're off with our best friend to wipe another village. However, Kane's jealousy over Rosa gets the best of him and attacks Cecil. The two die before ever making it to the village, clocking in at 11 minutes and 8 seconds. Moving on to Final Fantasy V, events happen, a meteor drops onto the world, Bart and Boko go and investigate and try to save Lena. Unfortunately, Bart should have brought Boko along in the battle, as he had no chance against these goblins. The run ends in 5 minutes and 1 second. On to Final Fantasy VI, Terra, Biggs, and Wedge all head for Narshe, but it seems as though Terra's control crown doesn't have a strong grip over her mind, and she attacks Biggs and Wedge. The party is defeated in 6 minutes and 36 seconds. We have Final Fantasy VII next, and we go through one of the most iconic openings in video game history, sweeping through Midgar and ending at the train station where we meet Avalanche and Cloud Strife. However, Cloud isn't exactly what Avalanche expected, and after 3 minutes and 35 seconds, Cloud is exposed for the fraud that he truly is. And we'll get into Final Fantasy VII Remake very quickly. It's actually a lot faster than I thought, skipping the intro cutscene and getting a game over at our fastest time in 1 minute and 47 seconds. Next, we'll take a look at Crisis Core Reunion. It seems as though the ending has come early, as Zack dies from a wave of bullets in 1 minute and 56 seconds. Next, we'll be looking at Final Fantasy Tactics. After a bit of dialogue, we go straight into our first battle. Unfortunately, everyone except for Ramza is a computer-controlled unit, so even without Ramza's help, the NPCs will be able to finish this battle with no problems. So we have to get into the next battle, and even though we have another computer-controlled party member, this time we have 4 other units that we can control on top of Ramza. And so after 19 minutes and 30 seconds, we have our game over. Moving on to Final Fantasy VIII, after we have our cinematic intro with Squall and Cypher fighting, we move on to the infirmary. Squall seems to be okay, he attends class, and is given his seed exam. However, Squall procrastinated all his training as he and Quistis don't even make it to the fire cavern. This run ends in 12 minutes and 47 seconds. Now on to Final Fantasy IX. This first battle isn't something you can lose even if your party members all reach 0. So we have to reach the next battle after playing Vivi for a little bit. Once we get to the play, we start the next battle. Unfortunately, the actors didn't actually rehearse all that well, and we get our next game over in 10 minutes and 15 seconds. Now we're on Final Fantasy X. Unfortunately, we're back to unskippable cutscenes as we have to sit through the intro leading up to the events on Xanarkand. Once we meet Auron, he leads us into battle with a sword from Jecht. However, Tidus being a blitzball player and not a fighter, the next minute or so doesn't end well for the duo. After missing many times on one of the first Sin spawns, the next Sin spawn attacks Tidus, giving us a game over in 15 minutes and 2 seconds. We move on to the sequel, Final Fantasy X-2. After the pop show, Riku and Pain disrupt the performance. However, the bodyguards are actually stronger than they appear, and we get our next game over in 5 minutes and 49 seconds. We move on to our first MMO, Final Fantasy XI. Now before you say anything, yes, I bought a whole nother character slot just for this bit, so if you can leave a like and subscribe to cover the cost of the extra $1 for the character slot, I'd absolutely appreciate it. Anyway, I started this game as a Taru Black Mage in the city of Windurst. Once I gain control over my character, I make my way straight outside where I attract 3 mobs and let them beat me until I faint. This run ends in 9 minutes and 19 seconds. Moving on to Final Fantasy XII, we're finally able to skip the cutscenes again, but we don't actually play as the main character, but rather as the brother of the not main character. We start off with a few battles in which we truly cannot die as some of the soldiers will heal Rex if he gets too low. However, there is a section where Rex takes on 3 guards. After being overwhelmed, we get our next game over in 6 minutes and 2 seconds. And thinking about it, this is probably the only Final Fantasy where the story doesn't change because Vaughn probably would have still blamed Bosch for the death of his brother. Just food for thought. Moving on to Final Fantasy XIII, unfortunately I am no longer able to attack allies. Also, Saz was able to beat the War Mech before the boss could kill Lightning. Luckily, in the second phase, the War Mech finally gets the best of the duo, clocking this game over in 2 minutes and 44 seconds. On to Final Fantasy XIII-2, this run is actually pretty simple, we just need Chaos Bahamut to attack us until we get our game over in 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Now to the third game in the trilogy. This is a bit of a tricky one. At first, I just let one of the first enemies in the game wail on Lightning until she lost all her HP. However, in Lightning Returns, this does not end in an immediate game over, as penalty for dying is losing 1 hour of in-game time. I wasn't satisfied with just calling it there, so I started again and continued on until I reached Luxarian. It is here that I finally got the timer, and this is where we can finally work towards getting a game over. We are required to do the first side quest before we can access any of the services in the city. Once that is available, we head straight for the inn and sleep until 6 AM. Once 6 AM hits, we are forced back into the Ark and we start the next day. We repeat this until the final day. Once 6 AM on the final day hits, we finally get our true game over in over 30 minutes. And we'll move on to another side Final Fantasy, Type 0. On Cadet difficulty, all members are equipped with a life ring, which gives us re-raise. With Queen curing every so often, it isn't actually possible to get a game over within the first few battles. Once we're able to remove the life ring, we play as Queen first to prevent her from using Cure. Once she is down, it's just a matter of having Ace and 9 go down. Once our last character is defeated, we get our game over in 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Now we move on to Final Fantasy XIV. I chose to create my character as a conjurer, as mages in this game have the lowest starting HP. Once we have access to the first aetheryte, we head out. I was actually worried that someone might be close enough to heal us or even take out the enemy hitting us, so I had to act fast. Luckily, there is a level 12 treant that can easily overpower our character, leaving us on the ground in 6 minutes and 3 seconds. And before we move on to our final 2 mainline games, we'll look at 2 other side games. The first is World of Final Fantasy. Like Lightning Returns, Party Wipe does not result in a game over. This time the party is sent back to Ninewood Hills. However, there is a game over screen, but unfortunately the earliest chance to get a game over is in Chapter 3, in which the Threshold bosses are introduced. I just didn't want to spend 10 plus hours to get there, however, so I hope you forgive me as I am taking the earliest party wipe in 15 minutes and 32 seconds as our game over. Our last side Final Fantasy, Stranger of Paradise. Unfortunately, it is not possible to die in both the first Tiamat fight and the tutorial. Our earliest death can be found in the Chaos Shrine, where Jack can be defeated by some goblins in 11 minutes and 11 seconds. However, like Lightning Returns and World of Final Fantasy, dying does not result in a game over, but rather a restart. Now onto Final Fantasy XV. After the short Ifrit segment, the party pushes their car towards Hammerhead to start the game. When getting to Hammerhead, we talk to some people, and we get our first quest from Cindy to eliminate some monsters in the area. Now, I did have some concerns about this game since there are 2 HP bars. We have the white HP bar that we can heal with normal potions, and the gray HP bar, which is considered our true HP. This already makes dying a bit tougher in this game than in other games. In addition, your party will help you whenever you are in a danger status, and they are diligent. Your friends often rescue you before an enemy can hit the final blow, so getting the gray bar to 0 took longer than expected. But finally, after 12 minutes and 21 seconds, we got our game over. And finally, the latest game in the series, Final Fantasy XVI. As always, we have to go through a bit of intro to get to the real gameplay. Now, I had a feeling that the tutorial section might not get us a game over, but I had to test it out to see. As soon as I had the evade tutorial, I decided to take the hits instead. However, my suspicions were true and Murdoch heals us to prevent death. Even in the actual test, we are not allowed to get past a certain HP threshold, as Murdoch will just end up healing us anyway. So I make quick work of the test after finding this out, and we move on to Stillwind. Unfortunately, the first set of goblins was not enough, as Tyler and Wade were enough to beat them on their own. However, there were more goblins in the second set, and this is where we get our last game over in 15 minutes and 59 seconds. However, this could have been a lot faster if I just skipped the tutorial section. And there we have it. Of course, this could be a lot more optimized, but it was just fun seeing a lot of these game overs so early in the game. Most of these Final Fantasies definitely give you enough resources and HP that you usually don't see a game over so early. But what did you think of some of these? Were there any that surprised you, or maybe you had some better strats? Just let me know in the comments. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this video. I just wanted to do something a little different, and if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It will always be appreciated. And I'll see you in the next video.